Yo, what up guys? So today I'm going to be showing you guys my Battlefield 1 settings. I've been getting back into Battlefield 1, so let me show you guys. Now the DPI for my mouse is 800, my mouse sensitivity is 33%, my vehicle mouse sensitivity is 20%. This is the default setting. I don't really use the vehicles in this game, so you guys can copy that. Raw mouse input is when the game controls your mouse. And now Windows, for example, if you have mouse acceleration on Windows, if you turn raw mouse input on, it bypasses that setting on Windows. Some people said online they get lag from turning raw mouse input on, but I never had a problem with it. You guys are just gonna have to play with this setting. Vibration, I always keep it set to off. Invert vertical look, always set it to off. Now basically what these two settings do right here, the invert, is that when you're driving a plane, when you're going up, you turn your mouse down if you have it enabled, if you want to go up. Now, if you have it set to off, when you move your mouse up, you're going to go up in the air. We're going to skip over these settings because they're for controller. Now, I do recommend you always have all these settings set to hold. Now, the reason why I say that is that you never want to have it to click because you're probably going to forget and you're going to, you're probably going to mess up while you're in game. So always recommend you have it set to hold. Double tap forward sprint, never have this set to on. Always have this shit off, man. This is really going to fuck you over when you're playing the game and you might forget. So you guys can copy these if you want. I'm going to skip over these settings because they're for controller and I don't use a controller in Battlefield 1. I'm going to skip all over these. Now the magnification settings right here. This is so you can change the sensitivity of your magnifications in the game. I don't recommend you guys mess with these settings. Just keep it at the default setting. If you do mess with these, you're probably going to forget. So for example, let's say you're using the 8x zoom sensitivity and you switch it to 125% and the rest of them are at 100%. You're probably going to forget, so don't mess with these settings. I'm going to skip over the vehicle settings because I don't use a vehicle. Now, uniform soldier aiming is where if you have it enabled, you can snap to targets faster and it will be the same sensitivity across all the guns in the game. It can help you with your muscle memory. Me personally, I have the settings set to off. I don't like it. I'd rather have a slower sensitivity instead of a faster one. This is really up to you guys if it helps you or not. So I'll show you guys. If I turn this on, it's going to help me snap to targets faster. But if I have it set to off, it's going to be way slower. It's not going to be as fast. Now the coefficient, you're going to have to mess with this setting. I heard it from a lot of people that you should just keep it at 133%. Now what this setting is that when you have a 16:9 monitor like I do, a 1080p monitor, at 133%, it's just going to make your aim way smoother. You could switch this to 178%. I heard from a lot of people on Reddit or online that can also help you with your aim. Or a lot of people like to turn this setting all the way to 0. That's something you guys are going to have to play with, but I do recommend just keeping it at 133%. Now, if you have a different monitor, you're going to have to figure out what the coefficient is for that monitor. Okay, now onto the gameplay settings. You're always going to want to have your HUD set to show and your player related content. Now, if you turn off the show HUD, it's gonna not show your HUD in the game. So it's gonna make it look more cinematic, which is really cool, by the way. Player related content, if you have this set to off, it's not gonna show your emblem or your tag or your platoon names. So it's not gonna show your clan tag or your emblem to other people. I recommend you have it to show so you can show off your emblem and your clan tag to other people. Now, one thing Battlefield 1 improved on compared to Battlefield 4 was that the chat log, you can actually customize it now. So I always felt like in Battlefield 4, the chat log was way too big and you can never change that setting. I do appreciate that the developers, they added this setting in the game. The kill log size, I always keep it set to 70%. And the kill log visibility is always at 20%. And the kill log filter is always set to all. The reason why I have it like this is that I don't really care who's dying. I can pretty much know who's dying just by looking at the minimap. You're always going to want to set the kill log filter to all. If you have this set to team or squad, it's just going to show who dies in your squad or on your team. You're going to want to set this to all, so it can show you who's dying in the game. Now the awards, you're always going to want to have this set to on. It's basically going to track all the assignments, the ribbons, and the medals in the game. So let's say you're trying to unlock a new weapon, you're going to want to know that information in the game. So I recommend you have it set to show. Critical messages, always have this on also. It's just going to tell you the critical messages in the game. Now the reload hint system and the hint system, turn this shit off, man. You don't need it. I'm pretty sure a lot of you have watched YouTube videos on Battlefield 1 and how to play. So this is just going to add clutter to your screen. Scoring size and the miscellaneous HUD size, I always keep this at 100%. I don't really mess with this. It's just going to adjust the size for things on the map, miscellaneous, like the vehicles, the reload hints, interactions, and stuff like that. But that doesn't really bother me in the game, so I recommend just leaving it like that. The combo row scale, this is a really important setting for me. So basically, this is not in Battlefield 4 also. So what this setting does is that it shows the size of your callouts in the game. When you're saying thank you or go, 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 or, you know, you just want to communicate with your team. So yeah, I recommend you guys make it a little bit smaller because it's really big. The default setting is too big for me. So I turned that way down. Now the squad info, I don't really care who's on my squad, because I always play alone, so I always keep the squad visibility to 20% and the squad list size to 50% because it's not important information to me. Player info size, I always keep this set to 100% and 50%. Now it's just gonna change the HUD on your screen right here, so when it shows your ammo, your health, your perks, all that stuff. In my inventory, I have it set to when active, so whenever I reload or I change gadget, the little HUD is gonna pop up, but if I don't press any of that, then it's not going to pop up here. It's a personal preference, by the way. I'm going to skip over the vehicle settings because like I said before, I don't use the vehicles in this game. Now the crosshair size, you guys can copy this if you want. I always have it set to 100%. What I did notice from Battlefield 4 compared to Battlefield 1 was that in Battlefield 1, the default setting for the crosshair is way smaller than in Battlefield 4. I don't know why it's like that for some odd reason, but that's how it is. You're always going to want your crosshair visibility set to 100%. You're always going to want to know where the center of your screen is, so that's really important. Crosshair color, I always have this set to pink. It just helps me see the crosshair on every map. I recommend you have a color where you can see it on all the maps. So for example, like red, pink, blue, or green. So yeah, you guys can copy these if you want. You can also change the color of your reticle when you aim down the sight with a pistol or a gun with a scope on it. You can switch it to green, blue, whatever you want. So I have it set to pink. Game mode info, I always have this at the default setting. I don't really know what this does, but I'm pretty sure it just tells you what's going on in the game. So like for example, like when the enemy is attacking an objective, it's gonna say, oh, you lost objective, dove or whatever, and it's gonna show the text on the screen. Hit indicator, I recommend you guys have this set to the highest setting and the visibility so you can know where you're hitting your target. Now these settings are really important right here. I recommend you have a different color for all these settings so you can know where you're hitting your target. So for example, when you're hitting your normal target and you don't get a headshot, it's always going to be green. So I have this set to green whenever I hit someone, you know, from the leg all the way up to the torso, it's always going to be green. The headshot color, I have it set to red. The kill color, I have it set to blue. And the critical hit color is always going to be pink. You guys can copy these if you want. I do recommend you always have a different color for all of these settings right here. It's just going to help you know where you're hitting your target. And it's also going to help you pass information to your teammates like, oh, I got the kill or he's lit up, like just hit him with a pistol. Damage base shape, what this is that when you shoot a target in the game, it's going to be way bigger if you have this set to yes. But if you have it set to no, then it's going to be way smaller. So I recommend you have it set to yes. Receiving damage, it's just going to show you when you're receiving damage in the game. So I recommend you have this set to 100%. My minimap size is always 150%. My background visibility is 10%. Now, the reason why I have the background visibility all the way down is that the background in the game, it's going to be way clearer, at least for me. For you guys, you might not prefer that. So like right here on your screen, you're going to see that it's pretty much gray and it's not going to show you the out of bounds where it's usually black if you have it set to the default setting. Icons visibility, I recommend you have it set to 100%. It's just going to help you see the visibility of the icons. So that's very important information. Icon size, always have this set to 150%. It just helps me know where everyone is on the map and it makes the icons way bigger and it helps me see them more. This is a personal preference. A lot of you might prefer, you know, a smaller icon size, so you guys can mess with that setting if you want. Now moving on to the compass visibility, it's just the compass in the game on your minimap. You guys can turn this setting down. It's not really that important to make callouts, so that's up to you guys if you want to mess with that. Compass bearings, what this is that it's going to be the numbers on your compass. So like around right here on your map, you're going to see a lot of numbers. They're not really that important. Basically what they are is so you can make a call out like, oh, he's east 100 meters over there. But people don't use it, to be honest. So I recommend you turn it off. I don't know why I have it on. Rotate with view. It's going to rotate your little dot on the minimap to wherever you're looking. So I recommend you always have that set to yes, so you know where you're looking on the minimap. Light zoom radius, I'm gonna skip over that and the vehicle setting, but I am gonna show you guys the on foot setting. So what this does is that if you have it set to 150%, for example, if you have it at the default setting, I have it set to 75, and then when I zoom out, it's gonna be 150, and if I zoom out again, it's gonna be 300 meters. I recommend you guys have this setting set to 150 on all the maps, because a lot of the maps in Battlefield 1 are not that big, so You don't really need more than 150, but if you guys want to switch that setting, feel free to. Zoom level on spawn, always keep this to preserve, because if you have this set to reset, this setting right here, 150, is always going to revert back to the default setting, so always keep it at preserve. Background blur, I always have this set to 0. I don't like any blur on my screen for the minimap, so yeah. Texture opacity, what this is, it's going to show you the text in your little compass. So I recommend you have that set to 100 so you can see the text in the game. Show stationary weapons, what this is, it's going to show you all the stationary weapons that are available on all the maps. So for example, like the big cannons on the snow maps, the normal cannon that is pretty much on every map, the turret, the little machine gun that's pretty much on every map also. So you're going to want to know where those things are on the map. So, you know, you can take out a tank, an enemy, or you want to take out a whole squad. Full map artillery map, what this is that it just shows, you know, the full map whenever you're using like a big cannon or like, you know, one of the big weapons in the game on the map. I'm pretty sure one of those cannons are on Albion, if I'm saying that correctly. I can't remember the map, but yeah, I have the compass bearings visibility set to 0, background blur set to 0, so you guys can mess with this what you want, but it's not really that important if you don't use it on the game. Now the world icons, I do like to turn most of these settings down. Now the reason why is that I care about the enemy. I don't care about my team or my squad. I mostly care about my enemy. That's what I'm focused on whenever I'm playing this game. Except for the objective icon, I always have this set to 50% just so I can know where all the objectives are. Now the reason why I have it like that is that I don't remember every part of the map on Battlefield 1. I do remember most of the maps in Battlefield 4 because I just put so many hours into that game. So I pretty much know where everyone is going to be on the map, but in Battlefield 1, I don't really know the map, so I still have it set to 50%. You guys can copy these if you want. Now the ADS icon opacity, what this is that when you aim down the sight, it's going to zoom in on a objective or like on a friendly player or an enemy. So I recommend you turn this setting down. It's just not going to help you and it's going to make everything look way too big. Moving on to the advanced options, always keep the camera shake scale to 30%. The reason why I say that is because there's a lot of grenade spam in this game. There's going to be tanks shooting at you, so your camera's going to go fucking crazy even at 30%. So always turn the setting down, and it's going to help the people out there who suffer from motion sickness. Trust me, turn that shit down, bro. It's not going to help you at all. Soldier auto leaning, this is a very important setting, and the auto peekover, it's just basically going to help you, you know, lean on an object, and you know, you can lean on it and just shoot a player, or you can hide behind a building or an object and you could peek over that object if you have the option to, and it's just going to do it automatically for you instead of, you know, you doing it manually. Parachute auto deploy, you never want this setting on, and the reason why I say that is that if you jump off a plane, it's going to automatically pull out the parachute, so you don't want that. Always have it set to no. Context based order giving, what this is that it's going to use the Q key, which is for spotting. You can use this setting to tell your squad where to attack an objective, but it's up to you guys if you want it like that. I recommend you do have it like that so you won't forget. Plane chase camera roll, I recommend you have it set to the default setting. I don't really know what this does, so yeah. Aim assist auto rotation, never have this setting on, especially if you're playing on mouse and keyboard. It's just gonna throw your aim off. I know for a lot of people they say it helps them, but me personally, it does not help me at all, man. I think it helps you more when you're playing on a controller, but if you're playing on mouse and keyboard, I mean, dude, just get better. Don't use this setting. It's very, you know, it's not gonna help you. And it's bad if you rely on the setting to get better, by the way, especially on mouse and keyboard. Now, network performance graph, I recommend you keep it to hide. You can use your Nvidia settings instead. You don't need the settings in the game, so that's up to you guys. I recommend you keep it to hide. Aim lead indicator, what this is that let's say for example you're lagging or you have a high ping, it's gonna tell you where to aim so you can, you know, compensate for the lag in the game. So you're gonna want to set this to show. Low ping network smoothing, always turn the setting off. If you're having, you know, lag issues or, you know, internet issues, and have this set to yes, but if not, just keep it to no. Share usage data, never give EA your information. Fuck EA, we don't like EA around here, so keep the setting to no. Moving on to the audio options, I have my master volume at 60%, music volume to 60%. The music in this game is really loud, guys, so you might want to turn this setting down. It's up to you guys though. If you want it lower or higher, it's really up to you. Just remember that the music is very loud in this game, trust me, especially when you're playing operations. Output configuration, I always have this set to stereo. This just helps me, you know, listen to footsteps and stuff like that. And I also have the sound preset to war tapes. Now, war tapes may be way too loud for you, but for me, it makes me immersed in the game. And it also helps me hear more footsteps. So that's up to you if you want to have it like me. But really test this setting out to see which one you prefer. Also, if you have a surround, headset, then you can use that to hear footsteps. Dolby Atmos. What this is that it helps you, it helps make the game more immersive as far as audio goes. Now, my headset does not support that, so I have it set to off. Language, I have it set to Mexican Spanish, which it's a crazy name for a language, but okay, dice. These settings right here, I have it set to on. Now, the reason why is that I like to hear my soldiers and the enemy soldiers and the game announcer to be in Spanish. I want to learn more Spanish, by the way. And the announcer voice, I always have it set to female. I do think that the female did a way better voice acting job than the guy, so I recommend having it at female. And I also like how they added this setting because in Battlefield 4, you couldn't really, you had to go into your files and, change a lot of stuff. So it's very cool how in Battlefield 1, they just make it easy for you. Now, the VoIP, what this is that it's the voice chat in the game. So I recommend you turn it off. Not a lot of people use the voice chat in Battlefield 1 or in BF4 or in Battlefield games in general. So just turn it off. Subtitles, I always have this set to on, even though they're only for campaign, but I do recommend you turn it on for the campaign. Now, the video settings, I have it set to full screen, generic PMP monitor, and my monitor is a 1080p monitor with 165 Hz. I recommend you guys keep it like this. A lot of people like to turn it to borderless. They say they get better performance, but for me, I haven't seen a difference, so you guys are gonna have to play with that setting. Now, the brightness setting, I always have it set to 70%. Vertical sync, never have this on unless you're using G-Sync, which I don't recommend in any game at all. The reason why I don't recommend G-Sync is that it makes it has a lot of input lag and stuff like that. I don't know why. I don't think Nvidia has made it, Nvidia hasn't optimized that setting, so always turn G-Sync off. Field of view, I have it set to the highest setting, 120 FOV. Now, this is a personal preference. I do recommend you do have it at 120, but for a lot of people that might be overkill. So if you want to turn it down to like 90, for a lot of people, that's way better, so that's up to you guys. But obviously with a higher FOV, you're gonna see your surroundings more and know where the enemies are. Now, the vehicle third-person point of view, I always have this set to the highest setting also. It just helps me see my surroundings more. ADS field of view, always have this set to on. Now, if you have this set to off, it's gonna zoom in whenever you aim down the sight. So let me show you guys real quick. It's gonna zoom the fuck in if you have a high FOV. You see that? I don't recommend you have it like that. For example, let's say I'm running here, an enemy pops out and I aim down the sight. Look how zoomed in that shit is, bro. You're probably gonna miss your shots. Now, motion blur, I have this set to 0%. Weapon DOF is also to 0%. Now, if you have weapon DOF on, it's gonna show a blurry effect when you aim down the sight. So I'll show you guys right now. Never have this setting on. As you can see, it adds a little blur effect. Visibility is very important in not only Battlefield, but in a lot of first-person shooters. So never have this setting on. And also motion blur just adds a blur effect on your screen, so you don't want that. Moving on to the colorblind settings, you guys don't have to mess with this, but I do recommend you do. And I like how in Battlefield 1, they added, a custom color option. And in Battlefield 4, we were only limited to like 3 options right here. I recommend you keep the squad color to pink, the team color to purple, the enemy team color to red, and the neutral color to white. If you don't want these colors, you can switch them out if you want, but I do recommend you have a different color for everyone on the team so you can know who's your squad, who's your team, who's the enemy, and who's neutral. It's just going to help you with information overall. Now, all these 4 settings right here, you're going to want to turn these settings off. The reason why I say that is that they're just, cinematic settings, and I just don't really like them. And most of these settings don't even work on all the maps except for this one right here, which I'm going to get to. But most of these settings don't even work on most of the maps, so you guys don't really need these on, by the way, unless you want to make the game look more cinematic. Now, the sniper scope DOF, when you aim down the sight with a sniper, if you have this set to on, it's going to add a blur effect around where you're scoped in. So I don't recommend you have that, just in case someone is rushing you. You can see who's on the side of your screen. Screen safe area width, I always have this set to 80% and here 8 to 80%. I don't really know what that does, by the way. High dynamic range, always keep this to off if you don't have a 4K monitor or if your monitor does not support high dynamic range. Same thing goes for right here. I have it set to the default setting, which is Dolby Vision. If your monitor supports HDR, then you can turn that on. DirectX 12, I don't recommend you turn this on. Now, the reason why I say that is I don't think DirectX 12 is optimized for this game. I remember I turned it on a couple of years ago. It made my computer crash, so I don't recommend you turn it on. Resolution scale, I like to keep it at 100%. If you want to turn this up, you can. It just makes the game look way sharper. The UI scale factor is basically the user interface we're using right now to, show you guys my settings. I keep it at 50%. Frame rate limiter, I always have this set to my monitor's refresh rate. You can switch this setting in the Nvidia settings also, so you don't have to switch it here. GPU memory restriction, I recommend you turn it off if you have a decent computer. It's basically going to use more VRAM on your graphics card. A lot of people like to set it on because they don't really have a strong computer. So it's really up to you guys if you want to have this setting off or on. By the way, if you have it off and you don't have a decent computer, it's probably going to crash your game. So be careful. All these settings, I like to keep them at ultra, except for the lighting setting, the effects setting, and the post process. Now, I noticed that in this game, the lighting setting, it uses a lot of performance out of your computer, so I just turned that shit down to high so I can get more FPS. The effects, I turned this setting down to medium. Now the reason why I did that is that there's a lot of grenade spam in this game, and it gets really annoying sometimes, you know? I do like explosions in a video game, but Jesus Christ, in this game, it's very overdone when it comes to the grenades, and it just makes your FPS dip, by the way. Now, post-process is going to use a lot of the resources on your PC. You know, it's going to use it to its fullest potential if you have it set to ultra, but if you want more FPS, turn this setting all the way down if you want to. From a lot of people, they have said that when you turn this setting down, it actually makes your GPU and CPU temperatures go down, so if you want to do that, try it out. But yeah, these are all set to ultra. Anti-aliasing, I recommend you keep it to TAA. Now the reason why I say that is it's gonna make a lot of the edges on the map just look way more sharper. So yeah. Ambient inclusion, what this is that it's gonna make everything look a little bit more shinier. I turned it off. Now the reason why I did this is that the sun in this game is very bright, so it makes it look a little bit less bright. Not by a lot, but it does, you know, reduce it by a bit. It's up to you guys if you want this on or off, so yeah, you can play with that if you want. Now my key bindings, I have this set all the way. I have these set to the default setting, except for a couple of here. For example, the zoom minimap is set to mouse 3. My select gadget 1 is mouse 3 also. It just helps me, you know, press mouse 3 faster than, you know, number 3. My melee attack, I have it set to F and mouse 4, and I'm gonna show you guys why in a second. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So now I want to show you guys Quickswitch, which is a setting that has been in the game for a decent amount of time, and you could enable Quickswitch in Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4, and Battlefield 1. So I'll show you guys what this does. So let's say, for example, you run out of ammo when you're shooting. Just hold F and you pull out your pistol. Now, one thing about Quickswitch is that you don't want to do this when you're running around, because you're probably going to pull out your primary, your gadget 1 or gadget 4, which is your ammo or your limpet charge. So, for example, I'm holding F right now and you can see, look at this. It's actually kind of cool, but you know, you don't want that. So make sure you're always standing still in this game when you want to use Quickswitch. Now, the difference between Battlefield 4 Quickswitch and Battlefield 1 is that in Battlefield 4, you have counter knifing. So, for example, if someone tries to knife you from in front and you hold F, if you time it correctly, you can shoot them in the face with your pistol. But obviously in Battlefield 1, there's no counter knifing, so you could only use this when you run out of ammo, which is very useful, by the way. And also, you're going to want to set the inventory down to your melee key so you can pull out your pistol. Now, the next thing I wanted to show you guys are my Nvidia filters, which I forgot to mention in my Battlefield 4 video, but basically I have these 3 filters right here. Now, RTX Vibrance, I always have it set to 35%, and the saturation boost also to 35%. What this does is that it just makes the game look way more colorful. But if you turn this setting all the way up, it's going to make it look brighter and way too colorful. So I don't recommend you guys turn it up more than 35%. If you guys like it like that though, then that's a personal preference. Now, Sharpen Plus, it just makes the game look way sharper. Do never turn this setting up to 100%. It's going to make it look where like someone grabbed a Sharpie and they just sharpened everything on the map. So yeah, I recommend you keep this at 33%. And also don't mess with this setting right here. The texture details, never mess with that setting, just leave it alone. I noticed that when you turn it up, it makes a lot of the objects in the game look weird in any video game. So yeah, the brightness / contrast settings, I recommend you only turn down the shadows in the game. The reason why I say that is because a lot of the maps in Battlefield 1 and in Battlefield 4, there's a lot of dark areas. So when you turn on the shadows right here to 40%, -40, it's going to make the game look a little bit brighter. So I recommend you keep it at -40. And obviously all these settings right here, you don't want to mess with those. Okay, now I'm going to show you guys my Nvidia settings for Battlefield 1. I have these settings mostly to default settings, so if you guys want to mess with these settings, you can. but there are a couple of settings that I do recommend you turn on. So for example, you're gonna want to set your max frame rate to whatever the highest refresh rate on your monitor is, which mine is 165 hertz. So I keep it at 165 FPS. And low latency mode, you're gonna want to turn this on to ultra. Now I don't know if Battlefield 4 supports low latency mode, but I recommend you turn it on just in case it does. And yeah, you never want to mess with these settings. Just keep it to the default setting unless you know what you're doing, by the way. And yeah, guys, those are pretty much all my Battlefield 1 settings, but I am gonna list off my mouse, my keyboard, and my headset. So the mouse that I use currently is a Logitech Pro wireless. I'll leave a link in the description down below for all the stuff that I have. My keyboard, I recently switched it to the RK Royal keyboard S98 RGB, and my headphones are Logitech G522 Lightspeed wireless headphones. So if you guys want to cop those, you guys can. But yeah, that's pretty much it. And another tip on getting better at this game is just keep practicing, and also just remember that as time goes on, you're gonna get better. And just remember that Battlefield 1 is a little bit easier than Battlefield 4, in my opinion at least. I think that's why a lot of the hardcore Battlefield players say that Battlefield 4 was like the last really good Battlefield, is because Battlefield 1 was really catered to a casual audience. But I still love this game, so yeah, just remember, over time you're gonna get better. Trust me. When I first started out back in 2016, I was complete dog shit. So you're gonna get better as time goes on. Also, another tip, try to play every day. I'm not saying you have to play like, 3 hours, 4 hours a day, but try to play at least one game every day so you can get better. If you drop the game for like a week or even a month, your muscle memory is gonna get worse. So yeah, and yeah, that's pretty much all I got to say. I hope these settings worked out for you guys. And yeah, peace out.
And it wish that I could just change my past. To think about you, Dad, there's so much shit that I could ask. Like, why am I still haunted by the day that you left? I wake up in the middle of the night with cold sweats. I can't believe this happened, can't believe you're gone. I should've known that when I woke that something went wrong. All the loud screams, me running down the stairs, and she was by your side and you were just laying there. I didn't know what to do, I tried to call the cops.